Gets open for three. Dagger!
The kick, and here it comes. Swing and a miss! And a World Series Game 7 winning Curly W is in the books.
Washington Capitals are the 2018 Stanley Cup champions. You like that? You like that? I like that.
You gotta like that, right?
My approval ratings keep going up.
Sorry to keep you waiting. Complicated business.
Welcome in. This is Defeating the Curse. It is a live show. It is Monday night. It's our version of Monday Nitro, I guess. Stevie is back.
Kevin
Matt
Nash
is back.
Razor Ramon.
Oh my! Razor Ramon is a great pull for you. That's a great pull for you. That and the Big Show. Those are probably the two that I would never. Actually, Big Show. Big Show. I know you always had a fascination.
That was my screen name. Okay, I used to ask girls if they want to see my Big Show. You would be Eric Bischoff, though. You know that.
I would be flattered to be Eric Bischoff. Yes. This is my universe, and I'm here to compete. Yes, 100% I'd like to be Eric Bischoff. No problem with that. For those that are tuning in, my name is Joe. We're live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Feel free to live tweet the show on any of those platforms. We'll do our best to pull those comments in and talk about them. Boys, baseball Matt, baseball Steve, this is the eve of your favorite time of the year, the official favorite time of the year, right? This is where it all comes to a head. The World Series starts tomorrow, and we've got two teams that, one of them very improbable, right, in the Braves, and I kind of want to talk about them first. Maybe the way to do this, we'll talk about the Braves, we can talk about the Astros, and why nobody really will cheer for the Astros unless you are from Houston, given the cheating scandal, et cetera, et cetera. They are the villains, I think, for a long, long time to come. But let's talk about the Atlanta Braves. I mean, I think they're on a very short list of teams to make it to the playoffs and now to the World Series while having a losing record, if I'm not mistaken, at the All-Star break. And I'm going to go back and verify that in just a second. But this was a team that...
Oh, look at Joe pulling up some
pulling out
the stats. Hey, zippy chance, that's true, but nice job.
When the mics are on and the camera, when the lights are flashing and it's all on me, I'm going to bring the heat every time, okay? I can read and talk at the same time. The Braves are a good team. I'm not bearing the lead there. But no one expected him to be in this position. Obviously, we, as Nats fans, Stevie more than me, we know this team. We get to see them a lot throughout the course of the season. I don't think anybody had them in the World Series, Stevie.
Well, certainly no one had them in the World Series after Ronald Acuna blew his ACL and stuff. And so what I will say is the Braves are a good team, but more importantly than that, the Braves are a hot team. And you know, the general rule on DTC is everything goes back to 2019 Nats here. So if we could just take it back to 2019 Nats, I mean, it's not always the best team that wins these things. I actually read an article that, we are not watching the two best teams play in the World Series. We're watching the two hottest teams play. And we're watching, really because of the way the divisions and the wild card was set up, we're watching an 88-win team go to the World Series because they took down a 106-win team because they were a wild card team. So right now the Braves are playing incredibly, right? And it's very much the MO of the 2019 Nats. Again, they've got a couple of arms that they are leaning on heavily. And you're talking about Charlie Morton, Ian Anderson, Max Fried. Those are their aces. Those are their workhorses. Get those guys in there and then get it to the bullpen. The bullpen's pitched great. What Tyler Matzik did in Game 6 with runners on second and third, no outs, he saved the game for them. I mean, Will Smith obviously is their closer, and he did incredible. He's struck out 2 out of 3 in the 9th, but what Tyler Matzik did really saved. It looked like they were going to be in trouble there after Luke Jackson again, gave up a couple of hard hit balls and stuff. So Braves are mashing right now. That lineup from top to bottom. I won't steal Matt's thunder because we were talking about it off air, but in those guys top to bottom. I mean, Freddie Freeman is the superstar, but Austin Riley, Ozzie Albies, Travis d'Arnaud, Eddie Rosario. I mean, Eddie Rosario, are you kidding me? They're signing these guys, pulling them out of nowhere. Braves are the hottest team right now, and they are the most dangerous team going into this World Series.
Yeah, absolutely. Look, 88 wins shouldn't get you to the World Series. That's usually the case, right? 88 wins shouldn't even win you the division.
Don't do that bit.
No,
they're
hang
there.
On, 80,
they got there.
They are. No, they're there. They're there. And we're going to talk about all the reasons why they deserve to be there. They beat Milwaukee, who many people thought had the best starting pitching in the playoffs with Woodruff and their other two starters, and all their names escape me at this moment, but they had a great starting pitch. And then the Braves weren't supposed to beat them. And then they go and they faced the 106 win Dodgers, the deep Dodgers. And all of a sudden that depth that the Dodgers had was gone. Max Scherzer's arm falls off after pitching,
Don't speak ill of Max. I will not tolerate it.
I'm not. And
from you or from Mike Rizzo's minion, Stevie. I'm not. I won't take
kudos to Max for pulling himself, right?
No.
But look. He would have hurt himself. Look, remember, he's coming up on free agency. The last thing he wants to do is go out there in a game 6 and give up 4 runs in the first, get pulled after 2/3 of an inning, and then all of a sudden people are questioning, can Max Scherzer still pitch in this league, right?
I'm questioning, can Max Scherzer still pitch in this league?
I'm questioning if Max is aware at that point in time that I don't think he's thinking contract, Matt. I think he's. We know Max. We watched him for years and years. We watched him not pull himself out.
He's not thinking.
Actually, wait a second. Okay, because I was in that stadium in Game 5 in the World Series.
Always get back to this.
I was there when he did the exact same thing. He didn't pitch Game 5 of the World Series. We all were chanting, Joe, Joe, Joe. We thought Joe Ross was going to hit, and then top of the first, the guy gets banged around. But, this is 2 years in a row in 2 high-pressure situations. Max Scherzer has not shown up. And when he did show up, the baseball Matt DeMet or whatever, he pitches 4 1/3. I can pitch 4 1/3, okay? Like, come on.
Let's get back to the Braves for a second. I think we can talk about Max because obviously DC based and there's a large connection there, right? But I want to go back to the Braves. We talked about something last week about kind of management and ownership that wants to win and that knows how to win and having a good organization. And look, that's what the Braves are. Top to bottom, the Braves are a good organization. The Braves were out of it at the All-Star break, like you were saying. And before the trade deadline, Alex Anthopoulos decides he's going to go and make some trades that nobody thought were like big trades, but he made, and he got solid guys. He pulled Soler in, he pulled Austin Riley, he pulled some guys, and all of a sudden, those guys, when they came in, they started mashing. It all came together. That lineup is quite dangerous and quite well stacked. You should not survive losing Ronald Acuna, and any other team would have done that. We saw what happened to the Padres when they lost Tatis for a little bit, and then he came back. They couldn't even recover, and the Padres were supposed to be the it team of the year. So kudos to the Braves for just managing this the right way. And I think what's kind of interesting is in a time where it's all analytics and sabermetrics and all that stuff is cool, you have what is an old-fashioned manager in Brian Snitker, a guy who likes to put his starting pitchers out, as we're kind of seeing.
I gotta just take a step back here. Like the 88 wins is a nice storyline when we're talking about qualifying for the playoffs, right? The fewest by 10
but
wins.
Once you're in, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
Milwaukee, I think, was a 96 win team, or just under 100, if I'm not mistaken. And obviously the Dodgers were over 100. So they, regardless of where they were coming into the playoffs, they've shown that they not just belong. I mean, I had the Dodgers beating them in this series, right? I don't know anything about baseball, but I think both of you, at worst it was a toss-up. I don't think anyone saw it going down the way it did. The Dodgers got outplayed essentially from the first pitch of the first inning of the series.
Interestingly, the Dodgers got outmanaged, right? Which I think is really Dave Roberts got in his own head, tried to get creative, tried to do things like, game 1 going with a bullpen game. I think partially because he lost his arms. I mean, remember at the beginning of the year, this team had Trevor Bauer, Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer, Walter Buehler, maybe not Max Scherzer, sorry, Walter Buehler, right? Julio Urias. All of a sudden you're like, wow, who's going to, and then they get Max Scherzer at the trade deadline. And you're like, who's going to top these guys? Okay. Trey Turner's bat went completely silent, but you just saw Dave Roberts get in his own head and be completely outmatched. And I think Brian Snitker knew his guys and just put the best guys out there all the time. And he trusted his bullpen. He gave his 3 lefties, like, the Dodgers are supposed to mash against lefties. They have some really great righties. You pull Albert Pujols off the bench, and those guys kept shutting down. There were everything that the Dodgers could throw at them. And I think we thought game 3, after the Dodgers pulled that out, okay, the series is going to turn, and it never turned. The Braves came back the next night.
That was the game, by the way, that I called, that I told Razzle to put some money, big money on the Dodgers.
Nobody cares what you called. I actually called after that game. You asked me the question because it was the game that the Astros came back to probably go 2-2, and the Dodgers came back, and you said, did both of those teams resurrect themselves? And I said, no, The Dodgers was a blip in the radar. Braves are still going to win that series. The Astros, we should talk about what happened to the Red Sox, because the Red Sox were mashing more than anybody, right? Back-to-back innings with grand
Should
slams.
I rename this episode "Mashing"? Like, is that the word we're just gonna be stuck on that word?
Matt,
Can we do $1 in the jar for the next person who says it?
Well, the Red Sox, I don't know what happened to them, because their bats went cold, and it wasn't the Astros pitching. I mean,
it kind of was. I mean, when you have the lone pitcher to go 8.8 in a third innings,
that's right.
Right? Like, that's the only pitcher to go, I think, longer than 5 in these entire playoffs. That's crazy. Where has baseball, like, when you think about baseball strategy, right? The expectation that you're going to have a starter, get 6 innings, get 100 pitches. Managers are now, they're not given the luxury to leave their guys in. 40, 50 pitches, you get second and third in the second inning. You got a lefty coming. All of a sudden, they're going to matchups, and you're killing your bullpens. Like, I'm not against doing something different, but I think the Dodgers got in their own way. I think Dave Roberts completely got outmanaged. And honestly, what I saw, I don't see Dave Roberts coming back and unless the Dodgers have some really big changes to make. I actually don't see Dave Roberts coming back and succeeding if you give him this same team plus a couple of changes. We'll see what they do in the offseason, but I think the Braves absolutely won this. I don't want to keep harping on the Dodgers, but what I saw from the Dodgers, I mean, they practically handed it to the Braves. The Braves just had to go out there and play good baseball, and they did that.
Well, look, before we shift over and start talking about the Astros here, Stevie, talk to me a little bit more about Atlanta, specifically Freddie Freeman. I mean, this is a guy, I am casual baseball fan. I learned his name. I knew his name, but I really watched him consistently for the first time the last couple of weeks. He's kind of a baller.
Oh, I mean, if you watch him against the Nats, you would know that he's like an all-time legend against us. I mean, that guy just kills the Nationals. But you cannot. I mean, I hate the Braves, right? I'm a Nats fan, but you cannot hate Freddie Freeman, right? He's such a good dude. He's just always done things the right way. He's just A plus kind of guy. And I mean, he's their MVP, right? He was MVP last season. I mean, he is a great baseball player, right? And he really struggled during this series. He went through that. I think he was 0 for 8, and he struck out 6 times in that span. He just couldn't hit the ball. And then he started turning it around. But I mean, he's a weapon. I mean, he's going to be in the middle of that lineup, and right now he's getting protection from Austin Riley and Eddie Rosario, so you can't pitch around him.
And he's a free agent, so you can allow yourself to dream for having him at first base playing in Nats Park next season, okay? Because, look, he doesn't want to leave the Braves, but he is the heart and soul of the Braves. I really think so. As much as Acuna is the flash and Freddie Freeman is the heart and soul of the Braves, he's the one that makes the Braves kind of likable, right? Like, he's the one you're like, this guy comes, he's a consummate professional. He kills the Mets too. Like, he absolutely dominates. Like, he dominates, and he's smart, always has good at bats. They also, I think, again, going back to the Braves management, they put a good lineup in front of him. They put some guys who get on base, Rosario and
Albies.
Right? Like, all of a sudden you've got these guys coming in. Freddie Freeman's job becomes a little easier. Bring them in. You don't have to get the long ball, get singles, get doubles, and he's a contact hitter, but he does contact and he does damage, and he's great. I mean, Freddie Freeman is the kind of guy that, you tell your kids, like, watch Freddie Freeman, play like Freddie Freeman. He really.
But the Astros have one of those guys too, right? And I'm gonna try my hand at this name, guys. Yordan Alvarez, because he is a ton of fun to watch. I can't cheer for the Astros, and let as we pivot over and start talking about Houston a little bit. I don't think anyone can cheer for the Astros. I just don't. Like, when you are in the center of a cheating scandal that cost players, franchises, trophies, hardware, etc., but fans and sports bettors, money as well. Like, I don't know who's cheering or pulling for the Astros outside of Houston, and maybe even within Houston, there's people that haven't really forgiven the franchise just yet. Dusty is a guy we know, and he's hard to cheer against, especially in DC, because he did some work here with the Nats, and he was always, again, like we used to be a lot closer to the team. We used to cover the team and attend games and interview the players and talk to, X, Y, and Z. He was always really nice to us. So I want to be nice to him as well. But Mr. Alvarez is a different type of beast. This guy He reminds me, and again, this is Baseball Joe here, and I know I'm probably going to be way off base here, but as a casual fan, I'm watching him when he comes up, the at-bats. He reminds me of a guy in Boston that really pulled me into the sport when the Red Sox were charging towards their first in 150 years or whatever. Big Papi. He just reminds me for some reason of him a little bit, but he's really fun to watch. Like Bergman, Bergman can die. Like I'm not cheering for him.
Bregman.
Like, whatever. I'm not cheering for him. Whoever's banging the trash
That's a
cans,
cool
I'm out.
nickname though. I'm gonna call him Birdman. Okay.
Yeah, I do like that.
Whatever.
Look,
okay.
The Astros
Jordan, I
story
can
is,
get on board with.
the Astros story is really compelling. Before they got to the playoffs, before they drafted Carlos Correa, this was regularly a 100-loss team, right? And so you were watching a team that sort of built their team all the way up. They drafted Altuve, they drafted Bregman, they drafted Correa, they drafted Alvarez. Gurriel has been on the team, came up their system. What they haven't actually brought up is pitchers, actually, to be completely honest, right? So but that core, that infield has been their core. And then put on top of that Kyle Tucker, and you put on Yordan Alvarez on top of that, like you said. And then you also bring in Michael Brantley, who's a pro. Man, that's a lineup nobody wants to face. And here's the thing. Now, look, you can really think of the Astros of the last 5 years, sort of, you could speak of them dynastically. Now, okay, 17, they made the World Series.
They cheated.
That's a good word, man. That's a good word.
I know. You're welcome. Yeah, use
man.
that. Put that in a sentence anytime. All right. My point is, when you make the LCS 5 years in a row, especially in the first year you were accused of cheating, right? There's no way you're cheating those 3.5 other years. Maybe 18 they cheated until they got caught, but 19, 20, 21 they've been playing clean. And so the thing about it is they're out to prove that. Now they got beat in 19 by the Dodgers. Interestingly, nobody won a home game in that. By the Nats, nobody won a home game in that season, in that series, right? Which is compelling in itself, because the whole accusation against them was they were cheating at home. Their numbers are better at home. That got lobbed out again against them by the White Sox.
Stop
right?
defending the cheaters. Stop it.
I'm just saying, if they win, what they do is they actually cement themselves as actually being quite good, right? And not just a team of cheaters. And I think it's
Brady after Deflategate.
Right.
Right.
And he's still doing it.
But and what it does is it's almost more embarrassing that you did the cheating when you didn't need to do the cheating. Like that's the stupidity of it. Is like, I get if you're not good, you cheat, you are good, and then you become not good again. It's understandable. You cheated the system. Good for you. But these guys, they can. Jose Altuve doesn't need a trash can to tell him when a slider is coming or when a changeup coming, or off-speed pitch is coming. That boy can hit. Okay, so it just shows you they're just bad people.
That's the thing about it. You don't like the way they go.
I'm going to isolate
personalities, suck, right? Like that's kind of the problem. But but the other interesting thing is like how much baseball has kind of forgotten about the cheating. Alex Cora is managing the Red Sox, right? Alex Hinch is managing the Tigers and getting a lot of kudos. Carlos Beltran almost had a job last season, and then he didn't, right? When those allegations came out with the Mets. But I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a head coaching job this season. The cheating allegation, look, here's the thing about baseball. Everybody's looking, is more than any other sport. Everybody's looking for advantage. Everybody's always been looking at signs. I don't think everybody's using trash cans. But my point is, like, if people were able to notice it, it's probably because they were doing something similar, right? Now, hopefully the sport has been cleaned up. But, like, the people who are the face of this and not the players, I'm talking about the coaches are all getting jobs again, right? So, like, forgive me, like, if I'm not feeling too bad if the Astros win again, because you literally hired Alex Cora back, who was the face of that whole.
Well, and Stevie's point is a good one, right? Like, when you cheat because you stink, you're cheating because you need an advantage. It's a very interesting storyline and plot twist. If you're actually this good, I mean, this is they've been good, like you said. They've made five straight playoffs, five straight playoffs appearances, championship round, and three World Series runs. So, like, they are. I mean, even if you're cheating, you still have to have the skill and you still got to put the bat on the ball. Like, you still got to score runs, and they have been able to consistently do that. I just find it, again, as a casual fan, it's hard for me to get behind that team or support that team, knowing that they did previously cheat, and it's unfair to them. I get it, but. It's like the Brady thing, and dynastically, as the word that you coined, which is very nice, and I like it, and maybe we'll squeeze that into the title of the show too. It's the same thing that happened with Brady and the Patriots during their prime run. I mean, Brady did it for almost 20 years, a little bit different in duration, but people aren't going to support the team that is. I mean, Belichick with the videotaping on the sideline. I mean, every time something came out, there was more heat against that team. The Astros, maybe because it's dusty, maybe it's because the players are really just that good. I don't know if the entire world is responding the way that I'm responding, but as a casual fan, I can't cheer for them, and I really can't cheer for the Braves. I don't really know who I'm rooting for.
Well, that's fine. I don't think. I'm sorry. I was gonna say I don't think anyone's asking you to cheer for the Astros. And I don't think the Astros want you to cheer for the Astros, because what I would say the difference between them and Brady is the Astros have really leaned into that villainous character. Okay, the Astros enjoy it. I mean, when you got my 5-year-old hitting a walk-off home run in the basement and he goes like this, he's doing Correa time, okay? You want to grab him by the neck and say, don't you ever do that, okay, boy? So the Astros love it. I think, Brady's not a villain. I don't think he tries to be a villain. These guys really embrace it. These guys like it, especially the bigger personalities.
Look, I think, believe it or not, who wants you to feel this way? Major League Baseball. They could not be happier that the Astros are in. You know what baseball needs? A little bit of villainy. You know what else baseball needs is somebody. They almost need this, like, hey, look at us, we did it the right way. Braves on one side, and hey, we're the villains, and we're like. People are tired of hating the Yankees, believe it or not, so much so that they almost started rooting for the Yankees, right? And now you need the Astros, a team that's so good that even they thought they could out-cheat you, right? Like that's how good they actually are proving themselves to be. And baseball, as they're not going to admit it, you're not going to get it, but they love that the Astros are constantly there because it's drama and it's selling, and you can sell this series very well. The clean-cut Braves, Brian Snitker, the guy who came up through the minor leagues and all that he's done and all the building the team the right way. And then you have the Astros, the guys who built it the right way and threw it all away because they wanted to get an advantage that they didn't need. So look, it's compelling TV.
So let's look at the series here, boys. Like, I mean, who are you picking? I mean, give me the short story here. Like, who is the team that you're going to bet on, whether you're actually going to bet or not? Like, who's going to win this series, Matt?
I've been waffling, to be honest with you. I keep going back and forth. It's really hard for me to pick against this Astros lineup, but I hate their pitching. I really don't like their pitching. The Braves, they don't have the best pitching, but they have solid pitching, and they got a really great lineup. And so I'm seeing the more complete team being the Braves, but I'm seeing 4 games in Houston, which wasn't an advantage against the Nats. I recognize that. I don't see how the Braves pull out a game 6 or game 7 in Houston. So I'll say if it goes 6 or longer, I think it's the Astros. But I could see a Braves in 5 scenario here because they're starting pitching and their bench comes out. I think it's Braves in 5 or Astros anything longer than that. I know that's not exactly, but that's what I keep waffling between.
Way to really go out on a limb there by picking both teams.
Hot take right here.
So Matt's taking both to win. Great.
One of those 2 teams will win the World Series. Damn, Matt. Okay. No, I will. Let's go back to 2019. Okay, boys. Let me take you all back on a magic ride to 2019. I think it's going to be very similar. I think it's going to be a very similar, magic carpet ride for the Braves, like it was for the Nats. I think, back then we had three really workhorses, right? We had Scherzer, Strasburg, and Patrick Corbin. They sprinkled in Anibal a little bit, and I think the Braves are going to use those guys the same way. I think Max Fried will pitch at least 2 games, and I think we'll see him in relief a couple times. I think. Obviously Ian Anderson, and Morton. They brought Morton to this team for moments like this and a series like this. And so I think they're going to rely on their arms, and I think these hot bats are going to continue to be hot. And I don't think Houston's going to have answers for them. I don't think they're going to have the pitching to cool down these bats. And I think the combination of Austin Riley is going to have a huge series. I think just that guy, man, he always finds himself. I don't think the Astros will let Freddie Freeman beat them. So who does that leave, in big spots with runners on base? I think it's going to be Austin Riley. I think Eddie Rosario, I think now is on people's radar, so I don't think they'll pitch to him the same way. I think really it's going to be Ozzie Albies and Austin Riley. I think those 2 guys. I think Ozzie Albies, when he gets on the base paths, he's a terror. And I think sometimes people overlook him when you're getting Freddie Freeman on deck. So I think between those 2, I think the Braves will win, and I think it'll be in 6. I think they will win in Houston.
I will say one thing. Look, I have not gotten much right during these playoffs, right? I had Dodgers, Rays, and I was sticking with that. I thought those guys were going to pull it out. But the one team I did tell you to look out for when you asked me for who's that team, and I told you it was the Astros. And that's the thing about the Astros, is they really do scare me. I really do think they have that it's our time kind of thing where they're like, look, we're just really good and we can out hit you in our ballpark. We know the little nooks, and it's a weird park, right? It's got that in like that short left field wall, right? That, I mean, the not the short, but the
Indented.
thank you. Whatever. They've got the left field wall where their righties know how to hit out there. Bregman and Altuve can hit home runs out there a lot. And like Michael Brantley, again, pro hitter. I really like, there's something about if the Astros were to lose, I'd be surprised because I think they're winners. Like, I hate saying that they're winners. They've cheated, but they're winners.
But the Braves are hotter.
This Braves team is special.
This Braves team is streaking, cool. and I think that's what resonates with me.
Yeah, it's streaking. It's not special.
They're streaking. They're streaking right now. The hitters are hitting everything. The pitchers are able to survive even in tight spots, and they just look like the team that's going to beat, like, to outlast them. I don't know. Like, again, I don't have a read on this, and I don't watch enough of either of these teams to really have a good feel for either of them. I feel like the Braves feel like they're playing with house money, very much the same way. I want to echo what Steve said. Like, when the Capitals, when the Nationals made their run, it was house money. Like, nobody, we here in DC had high expectations, but on the national stage, this is a team that going into that World Series run couldn't get out of the first round. They couldn't get out of their own way several times. It was the Dodgers, it was the Cardinals, insert team here. They couldn't get past them. I think the Cubs got them once too. So the Braves just feel like that team. I mean, an 88-win team that wasn't supposed to be there, just happy to be there. They've done some good work, and they've knocked off some really good teams to get to the World Series. I mean, they are deserving of being there.
Let me give you one potential weakness for the Braves that I actually think is worth consideration. Travis d'Arnaud can't throw out a runner for his life, right? And so the Astros, if they get on base, they're really good base runners. And I do think that is a potential place where they could lose a game late, kind of thinking about, like you mentioned Ortiz and the Red Sox, like think about that Dave Roberts scenario. They get late in the game, you have a guy come steal a base. d'Arnaud can't throw anyone out. The Dodgers really expose that. And I think that's something to watch because I think I'm coming off my fence here. I think the Astros are going to win this.
Oh, Stevie, he's going to say something. Hold on.
No, Astros in three.
Astros in 4 or more games. How about that? Right now, there's something about the way that these guys continue to show up. They like being the bad guy. They like being the public enemy number one. And I think kind of this is their time to finally solidify all that they've been doing over the last 5 years. I think they're going to pull this out.
This is a stat that I saw last thing, and then we can pivot off of this. We can get into some prop bets, but the Astros 67 runs in 10 games in the postseason so far. 67 runs scored, 45 of those with 2 outs.
Oh, 2 outs, yeah.
That's crazy. I mean, that is something else. I mean, ice through the veins. Like, you're going up there and you know what you need to do. 67 runs is a lot. 45 of them being in that type of situation, whatever. That speaks to the caliber of the players that are involved. That's not fluky at that point, right? That is almost by design. Like, they're getting timely runs, and I think they're outscoring their opponents on an average of like 4 runs a game. Like, these aren't close games, whereas the Braves games were a little bit closer.
Well, they did get their asses handed to them, and I think game 4 there where they lost like 12. But what was interesting is there was a game that game with the 2 World Series in the first and the second inning. They were down 9-0. They caught up 9-5, and I know that doesn't sound like much, but normally that's a game you quit on, right? Normally it's a game you just. And so I think that's good kind point. Of the Astros is like, look, we can hit. We're gonna keep hitting, and like we can get 9 runs. Like, I think if they had more innings, I wouldn't have been surprised. So I just think like that's an interesting thing. It's not like, but that next game, from that next game on, the Red Sox didn't score a run, or they scored 1 run those next 2 games.
So just so we're clear, Matt's on the Astros.
Yeah, I think it's the Astros.
Stevie's on the Nat. Keep on saying Nats.
I am on the Nats. Okay.
You are on the Nats.
Nats for life.
Stevie's on the
Happy birthday, Juan Soto. Okay, the GOAT.
I got a couple prop bets here, boys, just to keep things interesting for the casual fans. 18.5 home runs in the series. You going over or under?
I was just about to say, but I know we're this could be a really high scoring series. This could be a slugfest, and these games could run really long if they're making a lot of pitching changes. And so, yes,
didn't baseball put something in that you can't, like if you sub a
three batter minimum,
3-batter thing? Yeah, wasn't that designed or put in place to prevent that from happening?
I mean, you're switching every 3 batters. It's still gonna be a long ass game.
There's also 30-second pitch clock, but like baseball's still a long game. I don't know how they find ways to make it longer, but they do. And they start late, and I'm too old to stay
well,
up.
And that's one of those things. We talked about that before. I mean, it's unfortunate that the game starts so late, especially on the East Coast. Most people live on the East Coast, so I don't understand why you're catering to a West Coast offense or a West Coast viewership. Everyone's on the East Coast. Like the vast majority of the country lives on the East Coast and in the Eastern time zone. Put these games on earlier, please.
You're a big secession guy, aren't you? Might as well
I mean, I could be.
Three
Depends on how many
counties in
more
Maryland
jabs
are
the
looking
government
to
says I have
secede,
to
by
get.
the way. I thought that was interesting.
So are we going over 18.5? Stevie's over. Matt, are you over the 18.5?
Yeah, I'm over.
Okay. I mean, that was the most interesting one that I saw. Then there's some funky ones. Plus 1,200 on a perfect game. I don't think we're going to see a perfect game in this series.
Nobody's got the pitching here.
Multi-home run game for any player on the Astros at plus 350. I kind of like that one too. Somebody will get 2.
I mean, your boy Alvarez is kind of who I would look.
Yeah, why do I like him so much? Is there a reason that I'm drawn to him?
Presence, honestly, presence. And the guy, look, what I saw in those last 2 games, in Game 5 and Game 6 against the Red Sox, he was frightening. Like he was hitting it all over he was spraying it all over the park, left field, right field, doubles, home runs. I actually had I knew he was good. I hadn't seen him be that sort of effective. And so, yeah, I think if that's if that's your first glimpse of him, I would see why you would come with that impression.
Who will be the series MVP? Who will get the Corvette?
I'm going to go with Michael Brantley. That's just the one guy I like on that team. The rest of them are jerks.
Make him put money on that pick, and he won't be picking Michael Brantley, okay? He's trying to shock the nation, okay?
At least he's saying something. At least he's picking one person to be the MVP and not a unit or all of the infield or something. We'll take it. Stevie, who's the MVP? I'm gonna go with Jordan. I think he's the guy.
That's a good pick if you think the Astros are gonna win. It's hard for it not to be a pitcher. I mean, I know it's probably 50-50, but
unless you're like Rosario and having that kind of series. So
you'd have to have a bat that kind of goes off.
Yeah,
I could see Charlie Morton really making a difference. I could see him pitching Game 1, Game 4, and relief in Game 6, and they win it in 6. So I would go him as a pitcher, but if there was a bat, I think it's going to be Austin Riley. I don't think it's going to be Freddie Freeman. The Astros, Dusty Baker, has been around the block, too many times. They will not let Freddie Freeman beat them. The same way teams going back to 2019 would not let Juan Soto beat them, and he found a way to still beat the Astros.
I read something actually about Dusty that I was kind of like, you know what, you're right. Dusty's the 12th most winningest coach in Major League Baseball history. Doesn't have the World Series ring yet. I think this is one of those Hall of Fame solidifying things as a coach, if he were to win it, and he's the kind of guy you root for. So I don't want to see the but I would like to see Dusty get some champagne spilled on him.
Just for the shoulder shimmy alone, you got to be cheering for Dusty right now, guy.
Dusty's a good dude, and I think that's worth rooting for.
Well, and he was given a very tall task to come in and manage a team that was viewed as you don't know what you're getting at that point, right? To go back again to what we said with the cheating scandal, you don't know if they're cheating because they're terrible or if they're just stupid, and they just got caught. So, Dusty was given a very tall task. The team has been competitive year after year after year, so the talent is clearly there, and as much as I don't want to pick them, I think they are, Atlanta's the hotter team, but and if it's a dogfight and it goes 6 or 7 games and these are long innings, the way Stevie's kind of laying it out here, that these are extra innings consistently, the Astros just have more firepower ultimately at the end of it, right? They have more people that can get it done from top to bottom. And it's a tougher lineup, right? It's a tougher order, to get outs in, especially as the game wears on and you're going against the third, fourth, fifth arm. I mean, I don't think the Braves don't have that depth. I mean, neither team really has it, but there is something to be said about experience. And again, the Astros have been here, and they'll likely, like, if you were going to pick odds right now today for next season, most people are going to say, yeah, the Astros have the Astros. It's not outlandish. The Astros have a better shot at getting to the World Series again next year than the Braves do, given the way that the team is constructed right now.
Well, it depends. I mean, they might lose Correa, and then the Braves get
even if you bring all those people back and Acuna is healthy, et cetera, like you would still take the Astros because they've done it consistently for half a decade, right? So.
One last point on Dusty, because building off what you were just saying, that I think that is an unenviable position to come in after AJ Hinch, almost a position that you're set up to fail. I don't think Dusty was expected to succeed. I think he was expected to be a 1-year Band-Aid, and they would probably bring AJ Hinch back, kind of like the Red Sox did. And I think the thing is that surprised them is Dusty did too good of a job, and Dusty got that team to the LCS when nobody thought that they would. They thought they'd be licking their wounds from the cheating scandal. And kudos to Dusty for like actually being a really good baseball coach and a baseball manager. I think he actually, this is just my opinion on it, I don't think Dusty was the guy that they would have wanted. They got him in there. They're like, okay, it's nice. You're old. You're respected in the game. That's fine. Just come and kind of shield us from all of this. And then they started winning, and they kept winning. And I think
we have some experience in DC with people that were supposed to be Band-Aids. That I was gonna pull Jim Zorn, but then he was not successful. He didn't get a second run. But I want to. Okay, so we made our picks. We got some prop bets out of the way. The series starts tomorrow. I'm looking forward to it as a casual fan. I'm sure both of you are looking forward to it big time as actual baseball guys. Stevie, I'm sure you and the boys are going to be watching together. Matt, you too. This is or maybe it's on tape delay. Maybe watch it. What do you guys do? Actually, I'm curious. Do you record and watch it in the morning before school? Do you watch it the next day in the afternoon?
They step up the game, man. MLB has condensed game. Okay, it gets you 14 minutes, the whole game.
Is that like in the morning? You do that in the morning?
Yeah, me and the boys do it first thing in the morning while we're eating our Honey Nut Cheerios.
Matt, do you have a plan for the boys?
The boys usually just sleep.
Or for yourself, maybe.
For myself, I get to the 4th inning, 5th inning, and then like hope it's not boring and see what else is on.
You might want to mute the DTC chat then, because it'll keep going for a while tomorrow night, I'm sure. But let's pivot here and just talk a little bit. I don't want to go too much into the Washington football team. Stevie, I'm going to assume you watched 0 minutes yesterday.
Are they still playing?
They are. They played against this team called the Packers. They have this guy named Aaron Rodgers. Did you watch any of yesterday?
I'm sure it went wonderfully for the team. No, I didn't watch any of it. Why would I waste my Sunday? You know how many things you can do on a Sunday?
You and LP have definitely improved your quality of life by not partaking in this in the shenanigans of the football team. Matt, any chance? I know you're a Giants guy, but any chance you watched the football team yesterday?
Why?
No, there's no reason. There's no reason to watch the team.
I did tune in to see the Packers jerseys. I thought were pretty cool. The throwback, kind of like, or the inspired throwbacks.
You guys tuning in for a fashion show? Like, well, what is it?
Honestly, like, first of all, I'm a red zone guy now because the Giants are so bad. I can't even watch them. Right, so I red zone just about everything. And then all of a sudden, I don't watch the Giants, and they win a game, and they hold the team down to 3 points. Right. Panthers are terrible. I'm not not thinking we're not tuning any horns. I did watch a little bit of the WFT game, and I was like, WTF? This isn't a football team.
It's a very strange situation. Do you know that yesterday was a unique scoring combination in the Giants game? Did you know that? 25-3 is the 1,006th unique score.
I did see that. Yeah.
Yeah. Leave it to the Giants and Panthers. By the way, the Panthers, I don't know what happened to the Panthers. And in a couple of days when we do our top 5, low 5 in our Wednesday show, we'll talk about it. But the Panthers,
they started asking Sam Darnold to throw instead of run.
I don't know how a team could be so good and then so bad in the span of 2 weeks. It is shocking. Stevie, I'm going to assume that you caught up, though. Even though you guys didn't watch a lot of the game, I'm going to assume that you caught up and that you saw that the defense did play better. Although,
oh my God,
a little better.
I was doing a whole bit about me not watching the game. I actually did watch the game, and you could tell. I don't know who called the game because it was their F list
Greg
team.
Olson from the bathroom.
You could tell they didn't watch 1 second of our season because they kept on saying how the defense has improved week in and week out and how the front four has made an impact, blah, blah, blah. That they were just going off of name recognition and they hadn't watched 1 second of film on this team because you would see that outside of Jonathan Allen, you got to separate Jonathan Allen because he had a game yesterday. He played very well.
Montez played okay, Stevie.
Montez is the best defensive player we have. I've said that consistently for the past few weeks. He had a game. He had a decent game. Number 99. I mean, the artist formerly known as Chase Young.
Got poked in the eye, missed like half a quarter.
I mean, that was probably his best contribution, was sitting on the sidelines. Okay, letting Tim Settle get in there and get a sack. Okay, but
he blocked the field goal too. Tim Settle got some work done yesterday.
He did.
Danny Johnson got some work done yesterday too from the quarterback position.
Sucks. Anytime someone says they're a special team specialist,
he doesn't suck. He was in position, made tackles, caused the fumble. Come on, Stevie. There's a little bit of positive here.
You of all people, he should take that 36 jersey off. Okay.
36 means a lot to me. I know 36 means a lot to me, but he played. I mean, he played better.
Johnson.
Bill. So yesterday on the postgame show, Bill Rowland said this, right? It was their best game as a defensive unit. They only gave up 24.
Disgusting.
That's the truth. Statistically, it's the truth. It was the lowest third down conversion rate. It was the least amount of yards they gave up, least amount of points they gave up. It was their best statistical performance as a unit. And unfortunately, the offense, and we all knew there was a ceiling with Taylor. I mean, but yesterday was painful, man. It was painful. I mean,
it's the worst defense in the league. What are we talking about? Statistically and otherwise.
I do love how the NFL will convince you that Chase Young is having an amazing season. Like they will continue, like when you do watch the broadcast.
Yeah.
But it's not. But it's just like that's the marketing, right? That's
Gatorade.
the shield,
Yeah,
right?
Gatorade.
It's Gatorade, right? It's Under Armour. It's like, hey, okay, Chase, we are going to promote as if he's all pro, and it is kind of funny to kind of be actually aware of what's really happening. So.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of rumblings in DC too. I don't know if you're following this, but Deshaun waived his no trade to Miami. But the only way that Miami can make that work is you got to move Tua. And I said this, and Bill kind of gave me a hard time yesterday. Like, we already have Tua on this team. His name is Taylor, right? He's a guy who's going to run around a little bit, make some things happen with his legs, occasionally throw a good pass. Very unpolished. But the difference is Tua's very expensive to bring into and he costs you probably the draft capital and the will of the team to go draft a quarterback. This team. I've said this now every week, and I'm going to continue to say it. Bad teams, such as the Washington football team, and every team that doesn't have a franchise quarterback should spend 2 draft picks at minimum every single draft on quarterbacks. You've got to keep rolling the dice in hopes that you find your guy. Early rounds, late rounds, it doesn't matter. You've got to get these guys in your building and try to figure it out.
It's a good point. It's not a stupid point for once.
You have to.
Yeah.
Oh, not for once, guy. Please.
You want Watson from the Texans?
No, we don't need Deshaun Watson. We don't need him. DC's the wrong city to bring a quarterback like that with all these allegations against him.
Actually, I think he fits right in.
No. He needs to go to Carolina where no one's paying attention.
I don't know. The reality of things is that these issues, Deshaun Watson, Tua, whoever anyone else, they don't like the kicker, letting go of the kicker and getting this other kicker who can't kick also. Like none of these things solve the material problem that this defense is bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jack Del Rio should be fired. I don't know why that has not been put on the table. Jack Del Rio should be fired. Ron Rivera should take responsibility for this defense. Should start taking over the defense himself. And then let's see if the defense doesn't improve, Ron Rivera should be fired.
How can they improve though? Because that implies that it's a scheme thing, right? Like you remove Joe Barry and the team gets better.
The top 5 defense personnel wise. Of course, then what else is it?
So I'm going to quote Stevie. Last year they were top 5 playing against poopy quarterbacks.
Yeah. So you're back on my side. It's not.
I am firmly with you, Stevie. I'm firmly with you. Yesterday they gave up 24 points to a really good quarterback, and I'm sitting here trying to make a case that it was their best statistical game, which it was, but the offense fell apart, and Taylor forgot how to dive twice, and Terry got butterfingers in the end zone, and look, and I said this yesterday, and it's not a hot take, it's truly how I feel. I love Terry McLaurin, I love him, but he's not going to save your franchise. He's not going to fix the problems at quarterback. Great quarterbacks, franchise quarterbacks, make receivers. And people don't want to hear that, but that is the truth. Okay? That is the truth. You can like Devonta Adams was a talented receiver. Aaron Rodgers made him incredible. And there's hundreds of these examples. You can find another receiver. You could find another Terry McLaurin in the second, third, fourth, fifth round. If there's only 5, maybe 6 franchise like altering quarterbacks in the league right now. There's 10 that are.
So what is your solution?
I mean, you cannot retread. They have to get a quarterback. You have to continually just keep drafting guys like Jacksonville, like Cincinnati, until you hit the lottery and you get lucky and you get your quarterback. The Chargers got lucky. They had Breeze, they had Rivers, now they got Herbert. The Colts got lucky. It's the lottery. Ultimately, I don't think it's a skill thing. It's luck, right? The Colts got lucky. They had Manning for 20 years, then they got luck, and now they're in no man's land, right? The Patriots lucked out. They had Bledsoe, who was like at that time fine, and they found Brady, right? And it changed the course of their entire franchise for 2 decades, right? Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre. There's been 2 starting quarterbacks in Green Bay since 1991 or 1992 when Brett Favre was traded from the Falcons to the Packers.
Well, your argument doesn't hold up in the sense that it's only half the battle to find them. Then you have to cultivate them and provide the right culture around them.
Of course.
Aaron Rodgers wouldn't be Aaron Rodgers unless he had sat and learned from Brett Favre, sat on the bench for a few years.
And they have a guy behind him now, right? Because
Jordan Love.
It's bigger, and that's where it's larger than the coach. It's larger than the coaching staff. Right?
Yeah, can we go through? I mean, we had a Super Bowl, ended up being a Super Bowl winner in Brad Johnson in '99. I'm taking you way back here, okay? Let's go down memory lane here for a second. You had Brad Johnson. You had an otherworldly talent in RG3. Then you had a guy who is, for all intents and purposes, a very good starting quarterback in Minnesota, and Kirk Cousins. You had Donovan McNabb here.
He was poop. You were the only one cheering.
I love DF McNabb. Okay,
you were the only one. You were
the
the only
most
one.
sensitive.
No, but look, you want to go down memory lane. They drafted Heath Schuler. They drafted Jason Campbell. They drafted Patrick Ramsey. They drafted. They've drafted a ton of guys, but they missed, just like every other franchise misses.
Every other franchise doesn't miss on that many quarterbacks.
It's not them.
No, why the Raiders have missed on zillions of quarterbacks. This is the closest.
You're gonna give me the Raiders
been,
and the Bengals and the Jacksonville Jaguars.
The 49ers have missed on zillions of quarterbacks and ended up trading for one, right?
Niners have
you're not hearing me. They're not missing. These guys are not less talented than the other guys. They're going into a culture and a scheme that is poisonous and cancerous and is taking whatever talent they have and ruining them.
They're both I think true. But
look at what's going on in Cincinnati.
What would Mac Jones do right now? What would Joe Burrow do right now on our team? Nothing.
I don't disagree with you. But you're right. The infrastructure isn't here to support them. But Cincinnati, I mean, look, you say what you want about Andy Dalton. He kept them afloat, but now they've got a guy. Like, they've got a real guy. And when you've got the guy, you grab a guy like Jamar Chase, and now you've got a 1-2 combination that's going to be good for a long freaking time. Right? Like, would you rather have that roster or our roster? Baker Mayfield.
By the way.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying like as football team fans or homers or whatever, there is no shortcut to franchise quarterback. There is none. The era of defense first Ron Rivera 1985 mentality, it's so antiquated and foolish and boring and terrible. And what happened yesterday is exactly what you get from in these types of circumstances. So and I'll last question, and then we'll close on this. And there's a couple things I want to point out. Actually, before I do that, let me do it in this order. If Fitzpatrick is healthy going into Denver, are you playing him or not? Does he start over Taylor or not?
Yeah, why the hell not?
All right, so you're indifferent. Matt, do you have an opinion?
I don't think so. I think they give Taylor a half, and then pull Fitzpatrick in if he can't do anything in the first.
I mean, that'll be something I think we get into on Wednesday. I think if Fitz is healthy, you've got to play him. Period. Because he's better today, right now, with half a hip or coming off a hip injury than Taylor is. I think Taylor. We're seeing why he's like. Ron didn't uncover some, magic secret sauce in Taylor. Like, there's a ceiling there, and we're seeing it week in and week out. But I do want to close on this, Stevie. I know you love the NBA. Wizards starting 2-1 They started 2-0 for the first time.
Woo!
2-0 for the first time in lots of years, but they look good, and they've got 5 or 6 guys that can play 3 positions. This is going to be a sneaky good team, and I'm going to call it here. LP said it first, but I'm going to quote him. They're going to make the playoffs, and they're going to give somebody a little bit of a hard time. They're not good enough to compete beyond that. But
Wow,
this is
what a pick. There's only like 82% of the league that makes the playoffs. Whoa! Wow.
Well, look, they lost tonight to the Nets. They were losing at one point by 30. They ended up losing by 14, if I'm not mistaken. And then the Caps season. Have you watched any baseball?
Do you mean
Have I watched any
hockey.
baseball?
Oof.
Yes.
Yes, I know you've watched that.
Have
Yes,
I watched any hockey? No, but Teddy Leonsis has been tweeting some big time stuff about the Caps.
Did you see the new logo? The big W?
I didn't.
Yeah, that's interesting. Matt, do you get into hockey at all?
I do. Once baseball season's over, I start kind of, gliding on the ice.
All right, so
Matt,
you're a
you
couple weeks
put
out.
a scoreboard and 2 opposing jerseys, and Matt's all in. Okay, I respect that.
That's it, man. Honestly,
He loves the sports.
I'll watch the Ocho. I'm all about the Ocho.
Give me
man. I
the
will watch
craziest
any-
sport you get into. Is there like a crazy sport you get into?
Yeah, so F1 is my big thing right now. I love me some F1 right now. Dude, it's incredible. First of all, Drive to Survive on Netflix. That's a plug if I'm allowed to plug, but that's a great documentary.
Plug whatever you want. We're 50
Okay,
minutes
and
into
then-
a show. You can say
Hey,
whatever you
we're
want
Chappelle
here.
here, okay? Yeah, you can plug
People
Netflix
turned this off
until they cancel
45 minutes
Chappelle.
ago. All right. So no, but
It's just our
first of all,
why.
they were in Austin.
It's our significant others and our our phones that are just playing at this point. No one's listening past 51 minutes.
F1's actually really, really compelling. But dude, I am the guy, Steve. I'm the guy. Like when there was a pandemic, I was watching people play cornhole. I was watching people do what is that hacky sack thing with the net in the middle, like a spike ball or whatever.
Spike
I was into
ball,
all of
that's
it. Give me anything because freaking any sport is better than no sports.
Matt,
Honestly,
did you get into Liverpool and Man United over the weekend?
Absolutely, I watched every second of it.
Did Soccer Steve check it out? No, there's no way.
Is Mohamed Salah the best player in the world right now? Mo Salah. Is Mo Salah the best player in the world right now?
He is the best Egyptian player ever by
For
like
sure.
10 miles. And right now, yeah, I think he's
I couldn't think of somebody who's got in better form right now.
His foot is attached to the net.
It's
Everything he touches is gold.
unbelievable. And Ole Gunnar's out of there, man. I don't think he makes it past the week.
No, they have to make a change there. We should do an entire soccer show. We should actually force Steve to attend it so he can learn something as well. But
Yeah.
we can leave it there for now. Nobody cares about soccer except you and me, and sometimes LP. But he's always on tape delay, so he's probably watching that game like 2 nights from now. So it's hard to engage with him in real time. But Stevie, Matt, any final thoughts before we put a bow on this one?
No. Welcome to the big show tomorrow night. Braves Astros.
Monday Night Football needs to remain Peyton, Eli, and get that other team off.
So I hit pause as soon as we sat down. I'm actually looking forward to getting
great
some,
stuff tonight. Tom
some,
Brady,
Froyo, and I'm
Marshawn
going to sit
Lynch.
down and enjoy it, even though the game appears to be a little poopy.
Game
but
sucks.
We'll go check it out. DK Metcalf, I got some fantasy sweats going on there, so we'll see what happens. But for now, boys, thank you so much for making time. For Matt and Stevie, my name is Joe. This is Defeating the Curse, available on all podcast platforms and all social media platforms as well. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. You can listen live anytime on the Contender Network. We got an entire archive full of shows. I think we're up to 230 something at this point, available wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks for checking us out. Until next time, we are out.